I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about an idea I'd heard a bunch of decades ago, and it's about taking a day and a half off the race. Yes, absolutely a day and a half off the race. Before I do that, though, thank you for being here live. If you're here today with us, that's fantastic. If you're catching it on the replay, let us know where you're at. Hashtag replay, much appreciated. And also, the other thing I'd like to do, invite you to do, and maybe it's crazy of me to do it, but I'm going to ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps us get more eyeballs on here and helps the people that are sharing their stories with us when we have guests to get more eyeballs and maybe have an impact on somebody around the world. So if you could support us in that way, that'd be fantastic. In the meantime, what I'd like to do is play a introduction to what I do in terms of vocation, and I'll push the button right now. Hey, welcome back. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, and have a question, or would like to check in and see where you're at in terms of your business, you can actually get your business growth score complimentary. The email address, or actually website address, is probably the easiest way to go, is coachphil.ca. And at the top of the page, there's a link. It says Business Growth Score. Click on it, do the assessment, answer the questions. There's no credit card required. It doesn't cost you anything, and it'll give you some feedback. And if you have a question after that, reach out. Let's have a conversation to see if we can help you with the answer. And if I don't have the answers, I'm associated with a number of awesome coaches around the world, a couple of hundred actually. So if that appeals to you, by all means, jump in and do it. So today, what I want to talk about is a day and a half off the race. Now, there's a number of different examples over history where we have been introduced to that idea. There was the 4-minute mile. That was never possible until Bannister did it, and then everybody else did it. So where I'm going with this day and a half off the race, off of a race, a marathon, is along the same premise. I was introduced to this concept in the early 90s when I was attending and studying some content by a fellow by the name of Lou Tice. Lou Tice and his wife created the company called the Pacific Institute. And they were all about helping us reach our potential and stop under living, as the way he described it. And one of the ways to do that is to pay attention to ways to take a day and a half off the race. So Cliff Young is I don't know if he's still with us or not, but he was the fellow that Lou was talking about in this story. And what happened in Australia was they had this ultra marathon, and apparently it was about 600 kilometers long. And it took 5 to 6 days to run, normally, typically. And so Cliff showed up and entered the race. And he showed up in his, farmer's overalls and wellies, rubber boots. And people thought he was a crazy old guy. Well, maybe he was crazy, but they proved that he wasn't insane crazy for taking on a run like that. But I guess it was something that he'd always wanted to try to do. So after being interviewed and assessed that he wasn't a crazy lunatic individual, they allowed him to run. And part of the process was that they asked him why he felt he was qualified to run the race. Asked him if he ever trained for a race like this. He says, well, I haven't really trained for a race like this. What I have done, though, is I run a ranch, and I've got sheep, and I move them around my property by running behind them and herding them into where I need them to go. So I've been training for this pretty much all my life. So they allowed him to run the race. And he was up against professional ultra marathon runners that were, in Lycra and proper footwear. And they knew that there was a certain way you had to do this in order to win. But he didn't know all that stuff because he didn't even show up in the proper gear in terms of what the proper gear was, based on the belief system of the people that were running it prior to Cliff showing up, that is. So anyway, off for the race, and he starts, and he's shuffling along doing the Cliff Young shuffle, and he actually cut a day and a half off the race. And the thing that he didn't know is he was supposed to run 18, sleep for 6, every day. As a result of that, because he just kept on running for the duration of the race, he took a day and a half off of it. He didn't have the limiting beliefs. He didn't know what he didn't know about how you were supposed to run this. And apparently on his ranch, he didn't have TV or the internet, so he had no preconceived way of what you're supposed to do. He just knew when he chased his sheep around, he had to chase them around until they were where they needed to be. So he took that same philosophy when he ran the race. It caused such an uproar that the TV networks that were going to film the finishing, crossing the finish line, wanted him to slow down because they were planning on doing that, 6 days out. And he continued running. Anyway, I'm not sure exactly what they did to handle that, or if they changed the TV network's requirements or what. But he didn't stop. He continued racing, and he took a day and a half off the race. What's interesting about that, well, there's a number of things that are interesting, but what's interesting about that, the following year, all of the experts that were there before were running in the proper footwear and the proper running gear. They still had that, but what they did is they adapted to the Cliff Young shuffle, is what they called it, because apparently he didn't lift his feet very high. He just shuffled along, saved energy. And they beat his record by a few minutes as well. So isn't it interesting that once we've been shown there is a way to do it, then others will follow suit? So where in your life are you underliving, maybe, or having blind spots or scotomas to possibilities? I know I still have them. I'm working through it. I haven't figured out life myself 100%, or even if I've not run an ultra marathon. I probably never will. But metaphorically, I've run a few ultra marathons and done things where people have said, no, that's a crazy business idea. It doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? And I ended up acquiring a software tool about 25 years ago. And I did it more for not the logical reason for it, but for an emotional connection to it. The fellow that wrote it passed away way too young, and I thought he was an amazing individual. And what I wanted to do is keep his legacy alive. So I ended up acquiring the software that he had written for a particular oil and gas directional drilling program. And I didn't even know you can bend pipe and do what this software can help you calculate. It doesn't bend the pipes for you, but it does do the math. So it's a survey calculation process tool. But I didn't know what I didn't know, so I just went ahead and acquired it anyway. My accountant, when I told him I was going to do that, he told me not to do that. It's crazy. It's not a great business decision. And a mentor of mine basically said word for word, it's not a great business idea. I wouldn't do it. I'd walk away from it. So I've had it now for 20 years or so, thereabouts, running, and had it rewritten so it stayed compatible with modern technology. And I invented the way to make that happen. Knowing what I know about developing software is that you can have an idea and you can have the specs pretty clear. And then as you go through it and share it with other people, you get feedback. And in the feedback, it suggests that you should do some additional things. Well, also when you write code, it can, at least back then, could get to a point where all of the money that you had available for it, or all the resources you had in terms of dollars and cents for it, have been exhausted. Meanwhile, the team that have been writing the software for you, they're going to put a hold on it until they get more money. Well, then they're going to hold it ransom, and rightfully so. They should, because they should get paid for what they're doing based on that model. So what I wanted to do is make sure I didn't get caught up in that. So my ultra marathon in this particular situation is a real life example for me, based on what I heard about Cliff Young, was how can I creatively and innovatively make that happen? Well, I did make it happen, and I put it out there without restrictions on possibilities. I kept my mind open for it. Matter of fact, I've got a banner here. Just hang on, let me go find it. Well, I had this in spades. Believe it, and then I could see it, right? I believed I could make this happen. Also, the other thing was that I wanted to talk about is, yes, you expect success. So I expected that I was going to make this happen. It did not happen overnight. I found a way to do it, and it took me probably longer than if I had the wherewithal financially that I was willing to risk. It took me about 4.5 to 5 years to find the right person. But in finding the right person, we've been able to rewrite the program, keep it current in the Windows environment, and be touted as one of the best survey calculation programs out there. How did that happen? Well, it was kind of like the Cliff Young thing, a day and a half off the race. So I've done that with the creative powers of my imagination and the belief that it could be done with the attitude of, yes, expect success. So as a result of that, not only have I got this product keep going, I've continued Randy's legacy, and I've learned that if you follow the people that teach and have done the research, there's not enough time, as Brian Tracy says, is to start from ground zero. Leverage other people's information, leverage other people's knowledge and experiences. Turn on your creative juices and ask yourself, where am I holding myself back? Is there somewhere I could take a day and a half off my own race? I don't know. But if you don't ask that question, you'll never find the answer, right? So yes, expect success. That's all I've got for you today. I look forward to hanging out with you on another session of the Business Renovator. And I just want to pop in and say hi to Randy Chafee. He is an amazing individual himself. He finds ways to get things done and serves many, many people. And he's jumping on a plane because he's making shit happen. He's a wonderful individual. Thank you, Randy, for showing up. And with that, I bid you much success. Remember, focus on your own day and a half off the race. And hey, why not get your business growth score complimentary? Go to my website, coachphil.ca. Click on the button and fill your assessment. And then if you want to go further, reach out and let me know. In the meantime, I want to do one more thing. And that is, I know my video coach is going to give me heck for this. Look at this. I'm going to cover my whole face. The you right here, right there, is representing you. You're unique and you're an individual. So go act like your wonderful self. Until next time.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm